everybody. I'm Chuck Freeman. Welcome to Locked On Brewers. The Brewers do it again. They've won 6 in a row. Terrific pitching once again. Brandon Woodruff in the bullpen locked it down. We'll talk about that. And I hate to be the wet towel here, but Christian Yelich is just killing them at the top of the order. I asked you all on Twitter, what should we do with Yelich? Do we keep at the top of the order, move him down? What do you say? We'll talk about that. Recap the game and a whole lot more coming up next on the abbreviated weekend edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Brewers, part of the podcast, the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Chuck Freeman, been covering the Brewers for well over 40 years for AP Radio in Milwaukee and also WIBA, 1310 WIBA Radio in Madison. Just like you, I'm a Brewer fan. They're my number one team in the state, trying to pull this team through and loving this 6-1 start by the Milwaukee Brewers, getting the job done today. Always follow us on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Follow us up there. Check us out on YouTube. You could drop a thought in the YouTube section. In fact, if you want to get alerted when we're dropping new episodes on YouTube, go there, hit subscribe, become a subscriber, and then hit the little bell there. That's going to alert you every time we drop the free content here on Locked On Brewers. I'll be providing content on the Brewers after every game and on weekend games like this as well. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Brewers win 4-0. We're going to get right to the turning point of this game. The turning point was the 6th inning. Brandon Woodruff was great. Worked out of a bases-loaded situation early on. They're up 2-0. He walks a guy in the 6th inning with 1 out. His velocity was dropping. Craig Counsell went out and got him. And at that point, I was like, no, please. I don't care if Woody's velocity is dropping into the 40s. I have so much trust in that guy. But the bottom line is Craig went out there and got him with the heart of the order coming up for the Cardinals. Again, 2-0, 1 out, bases loaded, and Goldschmidt and Arenado, 2 guys that have amazing numbers at AmFam Field coming up. So they brought in Piamps. They brought him in. And I'm watching this game over my coffee table because I'm just scared to death. I'm like, all right, they got a 2-0 lead. You know, it's not a 7-0 lead. 7-0 lead, I wouldn't even like it in that situation with the way Woody was. But again, the velocity was dropping. They got him out of there, and they brought Piamps in. And fast forward to bases loaded in that inning, he got himself in a further jam. Bases loaded, 2 outs, a 3-1 count to Edman, but he got himself out of it with a ground out. Amazing. That's the way things have been going for the Milwaukee Brewers so far this year, pushing all the right buttons. Craig went out there, saw that Woodruff had dipped his velocity into the upper 80s, got him out of there, and Piamps came out of there. And again, it was a little shaky, but the bottom line, he hung a 0 in their 6th inning, and the bullpen has just been fantastic, hasn't it? We're talking a lot about the young guys in this team and how good they have been, and they have been, but the starting pitching, save for Corbin Burns, the timely hitting, even of the veterans, and the bullpen has been just amazing so far. There was a couple of blowouts in there, so there's not as much pressure on the bullpen. But some tight spots tonight, and of course on Wednesday in that win over the New York Mets. But Woodruff, I thought, second straight start right now. He's pitched 11 1/3 innings, I believe, so far this season, and has looked great in both of them. Jack Flaherty took the loss for the Cardinals. He had a 34-pitch 3rd inning, and that's when the Brewers got their 2 runs. Willy Adames with a later home run, and then Christian Yelich, an RBI ground out with the bases loaded. But again, we're not paying Yelich all this money with the bases loaded to hit a chopper to drive at a run. And I was watching the Minnesota Twins earlier today, and on the broadcast, they went the extra innings, and it got to the 10th inning, and the heart of the order was coming up, and the guy was a runner was on second base. And one of the broadcasters goes, well, it'd be great to move this runner over to third, but we're not the guys who are in the heart of the order. They're there to drive in runs and to win games. And sure enough, the guys came up in the heart of the order, and the Twins came back and they rallied in extra innings and they won the game because their heart of the order delivered. Yeah, Yelich drove it a run there to, I believe it was the seventh inning, to pad the lead a little bit up to 3-0, and then Adames homered. But still, Yelich is struggling in that leadoff spot, and I asked you all on Twitter, what should they do? Because Yelich is killing them. We're going to get to Yelich coming up here in a little bit. We're going to see how everybody did in the lineup today and run down some pitching lines and how the bullpen did and how the exact line for Woodruff, because Woodruff was great once again. This show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. FanDuel is a great place, America's number one sports book. It's a great place to bet because the NBA playoffs are almost here, and they offer this no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from money lines, point scores, and threes drained. Don't be betting against the Milwaukee Brewers these days in baseball. My buddy, he keeps going every day against the Brewers. I told him don't go there. Brewers were a heavy favorite. They're like a 155 favorite today with Woodruff on the mound. I said, don't do it. Okay. Tomorrow I see they're an underdog. Why are the Brewers an underdog against the Cardinals? They won 6 in a row. The Brewers are rolling right now. The Cardinals aren't, not so much. And the Cardinals came in here with a hot bat. And the Brewer pitching kind of held them down today. So FanDuel, a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com, locked on. FanDuel.com, locked on, LOCKEDON to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's run down what the offense looked like today for the Milwaukee Brewers. And I got to find the lineup. Here it is. Here's what happened today for the Brewers. And the lineup they went with, Christian Yelich in the leadoff spot. He took it over today, had the RBI ground out. He's batting 192. Jesse Winker, base hit, went 1 for 5. Willy Adames, home run, first one of the year. He went 2 for 4, 2 runs scored. Rowdy's continuing to struggle. Now, I'm not expecting Rowdy to be Rod Carew up there, but got to hit better than 143. William Contreras went 1 for 3. Garrett Mitchell, again, RBI base hit in the third inning. He went 2 for 4 today, 2 strikeouts. Brian Anderson went 1 for 2. Bryce Terang went 1 for 3. He had a nice base hit going oppo there. And Joey Weimer went 1 for 3 today. But the pitching, the Brewers used 6 pitchers in a 4-0 game. Brandon Woodruff pitches into the 6th inning, 5 1/3, 4 hits, 4 Ks. Not a high strikeout total for Woody today. He had the 8 Ks in his first outing, but his ERA is 0.79 through 2 games. Payamps pitched to 2/3 of an inning. Varland, 2/3. Milner came in, got him out of a little of a jam, and pitched a third of an inning. And then Bush and Wilson each pitched an inning. Any game you can save Devin Williams is a good day. You know, you don't want to be throwing that guy out there and another day where they didn't have to use Williams. They used him on Wednesday, did not have to use him. And you got a road trip coming up next week out on the West Coast. So that's how it went for the Brewers today. Now, as far as Christian Yelich, again, going over today, I asked you all on Twitter, what do you think the Brewers should do with Yelich? Because Christian is just destroying them in that leadoff spot. And I know the Brewers are winning games. Yeah, they're winning games, but you never want to stop improving. You want to keep getting better and looking at your team. And I'm wondering how Yelich would handle that if he got moved down in the order. Because when you're struggling, you're struggling. Yelich hasn't earned right now in the last few years batting in the 1 hole or batting in the 3 hole. He just looks terrible at the plate. All right. And you don't, no disrespect to him at all, but you got to move him down the lineup. You do. I think there's something at certain time, especially when there's a left-hander on a mound tomorrow, like there is with the Cardinals, you got to move him down the lineup. Okay. I know you got loyalty to him, but for crying out loud, we're trying to win a pennant here and we want to keep on winning, built up some equity here in April and keep on getting better. But Yelich is absolutely destroying you at the top of the order. All right. So here's what you all had to say. Ryan says a year ago, since that didn't happen, tomorrow would be a good time. There's many other good bats on this team. And since the whole team is drawing walks, he can't even hang his hat on that currently. Nick says, I'm not sure that they will. I'd like to see Mitchell in the leadoff spot. I think eventually Mitchell is going to be a leadoff hitter, or maybe Turang down the line, depending on how he hits on a consistent basis. So Nick says maybe Mitchell or Mitchell in that leadoff spot. I have Yelich in the 6th or 7th part of my lineup. Steve says, how about moving him completely out of the lineup and out of Milwaukee? Well, that's not happening. JRH says, move him out now. Why can't Wisconsin have nice things? Says, leave him there. Let the rookies cook at the bottom of the order. Okay. Chuck says, probably when his contract is up. Lex Ball says, soon move him down in the order. Evan says, Evan Gabriel, no question, just love how the Brewers tacked down the runs throughout the game. Howard says, move him down now. Chris says, should have moved him out in 2021. Should have moved him down in 2021. Howard again says, Yelich should bat 9th. I see more value there than 6th, 7th, or 8th in the order. How would that be if Yelich, reigning MVP, moved down to 9th in the order? I'm thinking that the Dodgers moved Bellinger down in the order last year, didn't they? I thought they moved him down toward the bottom of the order. Chris says tomorrow, move him down tomorrow. Michael says last year. Dave says after the up-and-coming road trip, move him down. Pitchers say they probably won't. He still draws walks, and over time, the game of baseball has shown that 5 through 9 is just as important as 1 through 4. So they won't mess with something that has shown it can work as it is. Hayden SJ says now his high walk rate and base running ability don't come into play that often. Send him a mission that he's got to get out of his own head before being trusted with the top of the order duties. I don't know if it's knee or what. I just don't know. Because I thought last weekend against Wrigley, he put together some nice at-bats, and then we got this again. John says, how about not in the lineup at all? Saul says, soon. Chris says, keep him there. On-base percentage, still 357 this year, was 355 last year. Good for the top 30 in all of MLB. The eye test, though, Chris says, get him out of there. The Freeman eye test. Bill says, ask me after 150 PAs. That's plate appearances. Ryan says, sooner rather than later. If the kids keep hitting like they are, I don't see how you can't move him down. All right. And we'll see how that goes. I don't forecast the Brewers doing that. I don't think it's even part of the equation. But you can't have a 200 hitter at the top of the order if you're trying to win a World Series, can you? You just can't. I mean, you just can't have a guy out there who's just destroying you each and every day. I know you're winning games, but man, these weak tappers and these strikeouts, and it's just painful to watch. Another new sponsor of Locked On Brewers, Sorare, our new sponsor, a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans and owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their own fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with other player cards against global opponents to win epic awards. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. ML Game Weeks happen twice weekly in a span of a 3 or 4 day cycle. And at the end of the game weeks, Sorare MLB managers who rank near the top of their leaderboards will win a variety of awards, win jerseys, autographs, merchandise, game tickets, Sorare scarcity cards, a whole lot more. Head to Sorare.com/lockedon. That's Sorare, SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic awards. Again, that's Sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. All right, the Brewers, game 2 of the series tomorrow. They will send Eric Lauer to the hill. Lauer, 2 walks, 6 Ks last Sunday against the Cubs. Jordan Montgomery, the former New York Yankee, takes the mound for the Cardinals. Went 5 innings in his first start this year, gave 6 hits and 3 runs. His nickname is Gumby. Seems to me the Brewers had a player several years ago by the nickname of Gumby. But they got him from the Yankees. And I believe that was in the Bader trade that they got him last year. So Jordan Montgomery, a slight favorite at AmFam Field tomorrow against Lauer and the Brewers. A couple of other notes. Ashby, I didn't talk about him. This news broke after I got done doing the podcast the other day, but the surgery that's going to keep him out probably for the rest of the year. I know they're always optimistic that he's going to come back toward the end of the year, but that's always a little bit of a doubt. But that's a big loss. They were expecting big things from Ashby this year, and that shoulder needs surgery, and he's going to be out for an extended period of time. How about beer sales? After the 7th inning, they're going to knock off beer sales now. Got to make up for these fast games, the Brewers do. They got to make up for the way things are going. These games are just, even tonight's game, I didn't say the game time, but man, that game, first few innings of that game just cruised by. All right, the Brewers will go for game 2 of the series. That's a night game out at AmFam Field on Saturday night. Lauer against Montgomery. Those are your starters. We'll be back right here on the Locked On Network to talk more about that game and preview the Sunday game as well. And hopefully the Brewers can extend it to 7 in a row. This is their longest winning streak in 2 years, having won 6 in a row. And they are 6-1 atop the NL Central. It sure feels good. They're playing well. They're a fun team to watch. And I think they're capturing a lot of the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. They're drawing an early season buzz. I know the Bucks are headed to the playoffs, and yes, they're drawing their attention as well. But the Brewers off to this great start right here, and we're loving it. We'll see what kind of crowd they get, and we'll talk to you after the game tomorrow night. I'm Chuck Freeman. You've been listening to the Locked On Podcast Network, and I want to invite you to right now, after I'm done, if you want to know more about fantasy baseball, check out Matt and Dom. Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day. They bring you the fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Same place you get Locked On Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast, your team every day. Chuck Freeman. So long, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.